Friendship's an interesting thing, isn't it? The sort of people that we become friends with, I suppose, depends on who we hang out with and the associations that we keep. We often are in the situation where our friends are people who are a little bit like us, from similar backgrounds, from similar cultures, similar space in the socio-economic ladder. This next conversation is very much an exception to that, and perhaps no surprises, talking about the work of the Salvation Army, who do a brilliant work at, well, all rungs of society, including the lower ones, especially the lower ones. Joining me on the program is Lieutenant Colonel Ian Hutson. He is head of the Social Policy and Parliamentary Unit at the Salvation Army. Ian, kia ora, thanks for your time today.
Kia ora, good to be back with you.
Now, often we talk social policy because such is the nature of the work that you do, but today you wanted to talk about a tangi that you went to recently, and I think it's a remarkable story because when I think of Salvation Army and I think of the head of Mongrel Mob, or the head of a chapter within Mongrel Mob, a lot of people would go, these are very different people with very different values and have absolutely nothing in common, but that's not necessarily the case for you, is it?
No. I mean, basically, because of my journey or our journey, we got alongside a notorious chapter of the Mongrel Mob gang and ran a program for about 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so we haven't been running it for a while, but you develop relationships, like you said. Who would have guessed, eh? And some of those people have become my friends.
It is pretty easy sometimes to go, okay, these people over here, I don't understand what motivates them. I don't understand their culture, to react and other them. Much harder, but much more rewarding to go, hey, let's give them the dignity that they deserve. Now, talking in particular about the tangi of Sonny Smith, who was leader of the notorious chapter in the Hawke's Bay, and, well, for a period of time involved with the Kahukura rehabilitation program. What was your connection with Sonny? How did you first meet?
Well, it was in a period, because we were more involved with Roy Dunn, who was the previous president, and he died. And then they were looking for a new person and looking to do a program, and we were involved with all of that. And he was coming, and he was like, I guess, unsure if he was going to follow in Roy's footsteps, but eventually he did. And so we had a number of meetings with him over time, and probably not as close as what I was to Roy,
Yep.
but we got to know, and really pleased to see he picked up the mantle, if you like to call it that, Purawai of what Roy had. Yeah.
Talk to us about the program and the difference that it made. Now, this is something which the Salvation Army was involved with, so you both had skin in the game, as it were.
Yes. And I mean, the thing at the Tangi was, it was just such a wonderful thing to when there was over 1,000 people there, and I mean, it was on the news and everything, fear about all sorts of civil unrest or bad behaviour. But as far as I could see, it was done very well. And in amongst the over 1,000 people that were there, at first I felt a little bit sort of, even though I'm familiar with it, here I am in my uniform.
You stood out in that crowd, I imagine, Ian.
Yeah, and I'm not a short guy either, so I couldn't hide. and because there's that many people there, most of them I don't know, and for a while I didn't, know anyone, and it's a bit. But then I started to see the people that had been through our program and find out how they're doing, and for the most part, they're doing really well, or at least a lot better than they were, and so it was really a privilege to see some of these people, some of them now in jobs and holding down, like one person there is actually involved with mental health programs and running them, and a leader in that area. So we journeyed with some of those people to see where they are now, and to see them in the middle of a whole lot of gang associates, as it were, who are really starting to say, oh, maybe there's a new way we could go.
Yeah.
It's very exciting to watch.
I heard reports. Now, normally if you say, hey, there's going to be a gang tangi happening in our neighbourhood, people almost literally run for the hills. However, I heard reports from the local community that these people would be welcome back any time, and were well behaved and honouring somebody who obviously meant a lot to them. So I mean that doesn't hit the headlines perhaps as much as some gang activity, but I suppose that's the nature of it. You've got people that are wanting to do the best for their families, who see the brokenness in the lives of people that they care for, and want to do the best that they can to help those people.
Exactly right, there's a strong movement within there. And obviously, I'm not trying to make out they're all angels,
Yeah, yeah.
and there's not everyone on the same waka, but there are people in there who are trying to make a difference. And in many ways, some of the things that we're hearing at the moment about being tough on gangs, if you look at Māori and forget about the gang situation.
Mm-hmm.
Tough on crime in many instances ends up being tough on Māori. And I was talking to a woman, actually, Salvation Army Pākehā woman, who's married into a Māori family. And what they're noticing now is that they're getting more interest from the police, not because of any crimes, but it's all I'm indicating here is that these people feel themselves to be outside the society. I'm sorry about this. I've got my phone going off here.
That's right.
I need
Yep.
to, I need
Important and
to,
busy person, Ian. I understand.
yeah,
I
I
mean,
should have turned it off.
yeah, and
But
the judgmentalism, I suppose, in society, and I suppose the profiling that sometimes happens. Go, oh yeah, these people, they must be up to no good because of the way they look.
exactly. And I mean, even to do with the Tangis, by the way, I've been on a number of Tangis when we were on the program.
Yeah.
And what happened was you there was never any trouble,
Mm.
but police would often show up all over the place. And so sometimes they would get hassled, the gang members would get hassled. But on all those trips, on all the Tangis I went to, there was never any trouble. But after a while, there gets this negative attitude between groups, and it kind of doesn't help. But when you get alongside them, and some police do,
Yeah.
and some people really supported our program, and you can see how it begins to make a difference that people from the gang will come to you for help.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had people years later come in seeking help, and you can speak into their lives. You can say what you think they need to do. I mean, pull up their socks or whatever it is,
Yeah.
but because they know that you care for them, they are there and available. And a lot of them are really looking. They don't like the life they're in.
Yeah.
Once, and they really do appreciate it when somebody really cares for them, and there's this opportunity for them to make a difference. And the way I see that's what the gospel is all about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Christ came to the earth while we were yet sinners, as it were.
Yep.
Didn't wait till we're cleaned up. And somehow in the middle of that, when people saw that Christ, and when you look in the Bible stories, when people saw that he cared, they responded. If all they see is, I don't know, harshness, and it just pulls them together tighter in many ways. I mean,
Yeah.
you think about the Nazi helmet, I find that so. Um, I pointed it out to some of them when I'm friendly enough.
Yeah.
Why would you wear that? Why would you wear a Nazi helmet?
Mm-hmm.
A brown Maori person wearing a Nazi helmet, and it really is that whole feeling of being outside of society and sort of in your face
Yeah.
type of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas when people get underneath that, what you find is a lot more caring and a lot more openness to change. Not everyone,
No.
but what concerns me is because the Kahukura program's lost its funding,
Mm-hmm.
and really, to me, it's a bit of both. You go tough, you go on the crime, do what you have to, but also look to do what you can and inside because really these are hard to reach people, and
Yep.
we're not going to get anywhere if we don't work with them.
And honestly, the strategy of let's see if we can out-staunch the mongrel mob. I mean, I don't like the chances of doing that, but coming alongside and demonstrating what genuine respect and love and care looks like, perhaps a unique position that the Salvation Army is doing. Now, you mentioned the Kahukura program that has lost its funding.
Yes.
The legacy of it, the good that it has done. I mean, you met some of the people at the Tangi who continue to benefit from that program. The legacy continues in some ways?
Yes, very, very good. Yeah, there's a lot of different people who've gone through that program. I mean, that was a different one than the one that we run, which was called Hawara.
Yep.
But I met a number of people that had gone through that program who are now really up on their feet and making a difference. But I also saw the person that went through our program this year. I won't name her, but she's now a team leader in a mental health and addiction program.
Wow.
And there's, funny enough, you know what, nothing to do with us, but there's a Ratana priest who's a mongrel mob member and an Anglican vicar who's a mongrel mob member, and they sort of haven't renounced their, because it's like a whānau, but they are there to minister, and they really do have the gospel in their heart when it comes to how they relate to their people.
And it's a very Christ-like type thing, down in the dirt with the sinners, showing genuine love and respect. Ian, thank you so much for the work that you do. I know for many people, the concept of this will be a bit of an eye-opener. Thank you for the way in which you take people at face value and show them the love and respect that Jesus calls us to do, regardless of their appearance or their background. Of course, people can find out more about the work that the Salvation Army does at salvationarmy.org.nz. But thank you so much for your time today. Kia ora.
Kia ora. Thank you.
Hey, thanks very much for joining us in the Rhema studio. Thanks very much for watching the interview. It's kind of nice to have an audience, actually. And if you did like what you watched, then do give us a like, do give us the thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more interviews like that one, or perhaps even better, subscribe and those interviews will come straight to you. Don't forget to turn on your notifications, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.